Hey, Vsauce, Alex here. What is a question? You know what? I don't care, but let's answer some. I'm actually going to put a hat on because I have no idea what's happening with my hair today. Hello and welcome to the Q&A&Update in what is a new space for me. Normally I film on my couch set over there, but I actually have all of this new equipment that I've set up for a standing desk streaming setup. I spent a lot of money to be able to set something like this up, but I think it's pretty cool because I have a bunch of space that I can use. So yeah, I'm going to be filming the Q&A and update here because it's a little bit easier and I have everything already set up. But yeah, I have a bunch of questions from people on Patreon and on YouTube now that I promised I'd answer. So let's get into that. B Down asks, what are your thoughts on speeding up content? I often find myself putting YouTube videos to 1.25 times speed, and some people even speed up anime they watch. Do you ever find yourself speeding up a long video, or do you prefer standard speed? I struggle to think of any time I've really sped up a video or like piece of actual content. I speed up tutorials all the time, and back when I was in college I used to speed up lectures that like professors would send to us. For some reason some professors thought they'd be cool and like upload to their YouTube channel and like, this is the lesson for today on my YouTube, go check it out. And I just play that shit on like 2 times speed because every professor that records a YouTube video does it like super slowly. But in terms of like actual content, television shows, anime, I watch 1 time speed. I honestly do think if you watch anime or TV or movies at like a higher speed that like, you're just a monster. I'm sorry. I cannot understand that. Giant Purple Pen 15 asks, are you a fan of speedruns? If so, do you have 3 that stand out in your mind as the most entertaining or best showcases as to why people like to watch runners do things like make Nathan Drake twerk his ass against corners until he transports himself into a new dimension? Oh boy. I do not watch speedruns that often. I follow a couple of speedrunners on Twitch or like people that I see live stream speedruns, but I'm not like huge into the scene. A lot of the stuff that I know is from YouTube videos, Summoning Salt type compilations of speedruns. There's a new one I found called One Short Eye who does speedrun documentaries of specifically adventure games, who's pretty cool. And that's usually where I get a lot of my speedrunning content from. So I'm not like in the scene, but I'm adjacent to it and I kind of watch it from a distance. In terms of 3 that stand out, I assume you mean games and not specific runs, because I couldn't even think of specific runs. But number 1 for me would be Dark Souls 2. I love watching pretty much all of the Soul series. Any FromSoft game gets speed ran because a lot of the speed run comes down to someone just playing the game really good. So watching that is just absolutely fun. But Dark Souls 2 in particular has a bunch of weird glitches that you can check out people doing that just make it really wacky. There's stuff like looking through the binocular item and then rolling makes you like zip across the map. Or if you parry someone and then roll over their body, you can like fly, like you're no longer bound by gravity. Super weird. So that's 1. 2, I'd say would be probably like Mario Kart. I think that's a classic. So many cool speedrunning tricks. It's very well optimized, and like all the videos that people like Summoning Salt make on it are super fun to watch. Seeing someone launch themselves off of Rainbow Road to beat a lap in like 12 seconds, classic. And 3, I don't really know. I think I'd probably say Skyrim or like some sort of Bethesda game, because on top of it being fun to watch someone beat a game that's meant to be played in 70 hours in like 10 minutes, the glitches that are in them are like ridiculous. Skyrim in particular has like just a glitch that's still in the game where if you hold a plate up to a wall and then run at it, you just like phase through the wall, which is ridiculous that that's still in there. And it's like a main speedrunning strat. And yeah, that's about the top 3. There's a couple others that I watch, but again, I'm not like super into it. So I'd probably struggle to think of too many or like too many specific speedrunners. Graham, and they did leave a note on how to pronounce their last name, which they say is Nakan. Even still, I'm somehow feeling like I still mispronounced it. Nakan, I assume, is the correct way. Graham Nakan asks, What editing software do you use? I'm partial to DaVinci Resolve. So I now edit on DaVinci Resolve, and I have since my Space Western video. So whenever that came out, that Space Western video is the last video that I edited with Premiere or Adobe. I loved Adobe, used it to learn how to edit back when I was like 15. Been using it for 6 or 7 years now, and then it just kind of kept breaking. I think everyone that uses Adobe products hates them for some reason or another. They just keep breaking on everyone, and they have this big monopoly on a lot of the software that they use, so it's like really hard to switch out of them. And then finally for my Space Western video, it just wouldn't render the video. Like I just could not finish the video or put it out because Adobe just would not let me. It just kept breaking entirely. So after I somehow managed to get that video rendered, I switched over to DaVinci and tried to learn that just out of pure frustration. And DaVinci is great. Really love DaVinci Resolve. It does all of the same stuff that Adobe Premiere Pro does, and DaVinci Resolve has crashed way less than Adobe ever did. The next question is from another person who left a note about how to pronounce their name. They say it's Marcel David. I assume that's how it is. Otherwise, I don't know what the DAH is, if that's da or day. Marcel David asks, hey, I only have 2 questions. How are you in general? Is your health, physical, and mental okay? And the other is a bit deeper. What's the meaning of life to you? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Best regards. Oh my God, that is one of the deepest questions that you can ask someone, I think. Oh my God. How I'm doing right now, doing pretty good. Health, physical, and mental, doing all right. Solid baseline. Specifically, I've actually gone and checked into a doctor recently, which is something I haven't done in a couple years now, and I feel like that's something that adults should do. As opposed to the meaning of life to you, oh my God, I couldn't even, that's a little too deep, I think. What gets me out of bed in the morning specifically is just, I love my work. I love being able to make YouTube videos. Definite big motivating factor in my life. And I also just love hanging out with friends and seeing family and doing all that. I don't know if that's the meaning of life, but you know, that's what I enjoy doing and that's what keeps me going. So I guess that's all you need. I don't really know how to answer that definitively. Sorry. Cooper asks, mine's simple and straightforward. What's your favorite anime before 2015? And what's your favorite anime after 2014? So my favorite anime that came out after 2014, but before 2015. Is that 2 separate anime that you want, or is that just one? I'm gonna assume it's 2. Favorite anime before 2015. Let's just throw out Evangelion out there. Good anime. Not an old anime, but an older anime. I think it's older than I am. Solid choice. Number 1 pick. My favorite anime after 2015. Almost definitely Mob Psycho 100. Fucking love that show. Oh my God. All 3 seasons were basically perfect. I'd say along with like an Evangelion or something, that's like my top recommendation for anime. If anyone ever asks me like what to watch, if they haven't seen that much before, Mob Psycho 100, really, really good. Evangelion, classic choice. Hopefully that satisfies you. Clytor asks, since you've been getting into manga more recently, what would you like to see when a manga is adapted into an anime? What is a good adaptation in your opinion? I'm not someone who's read a lot of manga that has gotten adapted into an anime. I'm only recently getting like really into manga and like reading through a bunch of volumes. And a lot of the stuff I'm reading is obviously stuff that is either doesn't have an anime adaptation or is like in the middle of getting an anime adaptation. So I haven't experienced a lot of what people who say watched Tokyo Ghoul after reading the manga experienced, where it's like, oh no, they butchered it or changed it or whatever. The only major thing I've seen is Chainsaw Man. That was my favorite manga ever and one of the first ones that I read, and then it got an anime adaptation and I really liked it. Thought it was really good. Did not understand the insane criticisms people were throwing at that show, where they'd like show a panel of just someone standing in the manga and then compare that to a shot of them standing in the anime and be like, it's different, it sucks. It's like, What are you talking about? What are you doing here? Just fucking read the manga if you really like it that much. So I guess actually that would be my answer. If an anime is made from a manga, I would prefer it to change the source material, obviously stick with the plot of the original and be faithful enough to like tell the same story for everyone who already read the manga. But I do enjoy it when something changes an art style or like there's a creative direction that it wants to go with it that's a little bit different from the manga. That's typically what I enjoy. I enjoyed that with Chainsaw Man. I think you see that a lot with slice of life stuff, like Bocchi the Rock is this insane adaptation compared to the original 4-koma manga. So that's typically what I look for, is just like the people working on the anime adaptation kind of getting to flex their creative muscles and like kind of do something interesting with it, as opposed to just one-to-one faithful adaptation that looks exactly like the manga, just animated. Because like, I've already read the manga, why would I need that? Viking Robot Ninja asks, what is the sequel you wish existed but hasn't been made yet? Mad Max Fury Road 2. Hands down, easy answer. Done, press the buzzer, that's my final answer. Mad Max Fury Road is still to this day, I would say, my favorite movie of all time. It's just perfect. It's like hard to replace in terms of like the ideal action movie. And specifically making that movie, I know was insane. George Miller had to work through a bunch of like production issues, getting like the rights to it, I think. And then of course it has this insane, like, it doesn't have a script. It's entirely storyboarded, and they had to work out in the desert and get all these cars to blow up. Like, insane amount of effort going into it, and still in like copyright hell or like rights holder hell where they can't get it into like production. I know they tried to make a standalone Furiosa movie, but it just keeps falling through because they don't want to let him make a movie, basically. So that's something that probably won't ever get made. There probably won't ever be a sequel to Mad Max Fury Road, or at least maybe not when George Miller is alive. But a Mad Max Fury Road 2 would be like the ideal movie for me. I would just fucking do anything to make that happen. Kidney Vendor asks, what are the best and worst parts of live service games? Like, what about live service games do you think has improved the gaming industry, and what hasn't? I have, I think, way more negatives than positives for live service games. I don't like them. I think I've made that very clear with like my monetization video and stuff like that. Do not like how live service games have sort of shifted the focus of the industry. I think the one obvious benefit that live service games are like sold as is just continual updates, right? Games like Overwatch or Fortnite wouldn't have gotten nearly the amount of content put into them if they weren't live service games. If they were just normal releases and then, you know, the developers work on a sequel. Well, I guess Overwatch 2, that doesn't really count. Whenever they're working on a sequel, they're obviously not going to put as much effort into the original game. So making something like Fortnite and then just being like, we're going to work on Fortnite for the next 10 years and keep adding stuff and new seasons or whatever. There's a lot of content that goes into that. The downside then is the double-edged sword that all of the content that they're adding is paid. It's either straight up microtransactions. I think Rainbow Six Siege just makes you pay for all the operators usually. And then it's battle passes, which is literally pay us $20 for the privilege to maybe unlock these new items and cosmetics. Like, pay us $20 and then still play the game enough to unlock all of these cosmetics. And if you want to unlock them without grinding for fucking hours, pay us even more money to unlock the battle pass. It's like an insane pricing scheme. And just like one of the things that live service games do to like keep kicking. I think Genshin Impact would technically count as sort of a live service game. And gacha games are fucking terrible. Just go watch my video game monetization video because I talk about it more there. They're terrible. I hate them. All the monetization sucks, but obviously it's for the benefit of continually updating the game. And so it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Luritz asks, what is your favorite lore tidbit from any medium? What defines a tidbit? Like, there's lore stories that I enjoy, and like, I guess like fun facts. I'm not exactly sure what defines a tidbit. That's a little weird. Obviously Dark Souls and all the FromSoft games have like incredible lore bits. I guess for a tidbit, the whole entirety of like Torias and Sif's questline in Dark Souls 1 is my favorite bit of lore from any video game ever. Obviously, I named my channel after one of the characters. And just the tidbit of, if you do the DLC for Dark Souls 1 and you've met Sif in the weird time travel past thing, when you go to fight him normally, he like smells and remembers you, and there's like a whole thing where it's like, oh, he recognizes you. That's cool as fuck, and I really enjoy that. So I guess that would be my favorite lore tidbit. I have no idea. Hopefully my answer was okay for that, because I'm not even sure what defines a tidbit. Nerd7 asks, do you play fighting games? If so, which franchise is your favorite? I have wanted to get into fighting games for a long time now. I never had anyone that I grew up with as a kid who played fighting games. So unfortunately, I never got into the scene like organically. No one I knew even played Smash Brothers or anything like that. So a lot of the PvP games that we would play would be like first-person shooters that we'd play and have like a small match together. Or like we'd play PvP and Dark Souls together or something like that. I never really had the experience of like playing Smash Bros or like Mortal Kombat or anything. So I haven't really gotten into any fighting games. I want to get into one. I think I would be... I've always had this idea in my head, if I got into a fighting game and like committed to it, I would be really good. I just have this ego about that for some reason, but I've never actually committed the time to get good at it. I've always wanted to buy one of those like fight pad things with the buttons and the stick and like actually learn how to play something. Probably Street Fighter would be a good one, just a standard one. Street Fighter 6 is out. I could maybe do that. Or go full, buy a GameCube controller and learn how to play Super Smash Bros. That's another one that I really like. But again, it's like a lot of time investment, and I think I would only have fun with it if I was good at it. I don't know if I would necessarily like enjoy the process of grinding it on its own, which is probably why I haven't started that yet. So my answer's kind of up in the air, but I do want to play fighting games at some point, like actually. Gunslinger asks, and this is the final Patreon question that I'll be answering, if you could go back to the start of your channel and change 3 things, what would they be and why? I think pretty much every change that I would make to my channel would be related to just focusing on it more. I am super lucky and super grateful that I have been successful with YouTube, but I did YouTube for like 6 years with like nothing. And I think a lot of that has to do with me not putting 100% in. I did not like actually treat YouTube like a full-time job until basically the start of the channel as it is now, like the first public video on the channel where I'm like, actually like I'm gonna make the YouTube videos. Before that, I was like a Let's Player. I did review videos and like a bunch of random stuff. And I thought in my head, I'm like, if I just make videos, I'll grow. But obviously looking back on that now, I was like just kind of goofing around. And it wasn't until pretty recently that I was actually like focusing on YouTube. I want to be a YouTuber. So 3 things I would change. 1, if I just could go back in time and talk to myself from the past 2016, where I officially started like Torias, I'd just say like commit. Just commit to being a YouTuber, put in the work. You can be successful if you really like grind at it. And so like just go for it. Just put as much effort as you can into it, and in a way that's like people actually want to watch. Don't just upload Dark Souls Let's Play number 16. Like actually think of videos that people want to watch and just go for them. Number 2 would probably be learn how to actually edit and focus on improving your skills at that. Because I would say I'm a decent editor, but a very basic one. I have not learned that much After Effects or any sort of like other software outside of just basic cutting in like Adobe or DaVinci Resolve. And if I had 5 years of learning After Effects or something, my videos would be so fucking cool looking. I could do like 3D model shit in Blender and like add all these effects like all these other YouTubers that I really enjoy do. 5 years of experience with that would be fucking phenomenal. So I would absolutely tell myself, just like get started with like improving your editing skills now and like learn how to do that. And 3, I don't know, I might tell myself to focus more on like networking with people. I've met a bunch of really great creators, a bunch of people that I would call my friends. And I've been able to grow with my community. I have a Discord now where I talk to people. But that's only a pretty recent development for me. And so I think if I had started earlier, just branching out, reaching out to people, developing cool relationships, becoming friends with other YouTubers, that's just something else that, again, like 5 years worth of that would have probably really paid off, and I could have like a really cool network or something like that. Not to say I don't now, just like 5 additional years of it would obviously be a lot more than what I have now if I just fucking started from it back in 2016. Oh my God, I've just now realized that 2016 was 7 years ago. Oh God, why did I say 5 years? Oh, I'm so old. Yeah, if I had 7 years of learning to edit, focusing on YouTube like it's a full-time job, especially back then when it's like I was just graduating high school and basically being a NEET for a little bit, and like focusing on connecting with others and like collabing and making friends and stuff like that. 7 years of that would really have like improved a lot of my channel. Again, not to say it's not great now, just I could have all of this additional knowledge and information and like skills under my belt, which I think would be a big improvement to the channel and just me as a person. All right, that is it for the Patreon questions. Moving on, just quickly answering some of the YouTube questions. I even said when I made this, YouTube comments are not something I'm going to force myself to answer everyone, but Patreon is. So if you want to get all of your questions for sure answered, Patreon is the way to go for that. I'm just going to skim some YouTube comments and pick out the best ones here at the end here. Antbur asks, do you think you could succeed as a filmmaker in the industry? No. I think I have basically no film production skills that would translate. I guess editing and like knowing how a camera works, but there's so much other stuff that goes into either being a director or like director of photography or whatever position I want in filmmaking. I just don't think a lot of it translates from what I do on YouTube. I would love to make short films or something one day, but it would be basically starting from like close to scratch. There's so much film stuff that I just have no idea how to do. Sketchosaurus Rex asks, what's your favorite console, PC or console? I was a PlayStation kid. So I had a PlayStation 2 growing up, got a PlayStation 3. That was like my first ever like actual console. The PS2 is like a hand-me-down. Loved the PS3, played a bunch of games on it. I also had a Game Boy Advanced and Nintendo DS and like some other Nintendo stuff. I had a Wii, but again, it was like very casually. PlayStation was like my bread and butter all the way. Never grew up with Xbox. Didn't even know anyone that had an Xbox. Everyone I knew played PlayStation, which is part of the reason why I did. PlayStation all the way up until basically my final year of high school, where I built my own gaming PC, which is technically the same PC I have now. It's like a Ship of Theseus thing where I've replaced every single part of it. But the PC I have now originally started off as the PC that I built back when I was in high school that I've just like replaced and upgraded. And I have been almost exclusively PC since. I think I have an old PS4 somewhere in a closet under a layer of dust that I'm not ever going to touch again. I am 100% PC all the way. It's the way to go for anything like that. I just fucking love it. And yeah, that pretty much covers it for all of the questions that I should have gotten around to answering a whole month ago that I only just started answering now. Hopefully you understand. In terms of just a final note here, I am going to make the Q&A and update no longer monthly. So unfortunately, it is going to be a more free-form, loose thing, I think, going forward. One, because it takes a little bit of work away from focusing on the main channel, and it's a little bit stressful to like keep doing it every month, as I found. But two, people just kind of run out of questions at some point, and I feel like giving people more time to think of them or like have genuine questions that they want to ask would improve the Q&A and update a lot. So I'm going to be moving it away from monthly towards just kind of a whenever thing, maybe every couple of months, we'll see. To replace it, however, I am officially announcing now, I do want to start streaming. I have this entire setup here specifically to start streaming. I have lights, camera mounts, microphone, standing desk, everything, so that I can start streaming because I just really, really want to do that. And I think that it's going to be casual. I'm not going to stream for money or anything, obviously, but on the main channel on Torias, I just want to play games and talk to chat, maybe go through some like tier lists or something and have fun. Mostly play games. I have a gigantic backlog of games now. There have been so many games that have come out this year that I haven't gotten around to. So I want to actually go and play those and play them in front of an audience, because it'll be more fun that way, and it'll also like give me some accountability to actually continue to play them as part of my job. So I'm going to start streaming. So if you want to ask me any questions or anything like that maybe you were planning on doing for the next month's Q&A, stop by the stream whenever I start doing that. I don't have an official date that I'm going to start streaming. It's just a general vague idea, but hop in on the stream whenever I'm live, ask me any questions, and hopefully that can sort of replace this Q&A and update here. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next one on the second channel here. Stay tuned for whenever I go live, hopefully soon. I think I've promised I'd start streaming before and then didn't, so this time it's for real this time. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.